everybody, and welcome into Perspectives, again, the home edition. And we're doing this on Thursday, December 10th, so we're moving closer to Christmas. If we can all just hold hands and get through this together and wear a mask, I might add. Our guest today is going to be Dr. Ken Hicks, an instructor here at RSU, and I think you know him, you've seen him here before, and pretty sharp fellow. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in politics. Oh, yeah. You're going to love this. A couple of things I'll bring to your attention. First of all, from the Tulsa Ballet, there's a version of the Nutcracker. It's being called the Lost Nutcracker. It's a spectacular it's a holiday themed show that's different from the Nutcracker that you're probably used to. It's going to be held at the Cox Business Center. It'll be December 17th through the 20th. It will replace the favorite, The Nutcracker. Also, ticket information. If you need to check on tickets, there are two ways to see the show. One, you can see it in person. They're going to take a limited audience there at the Cox Center. Also, if you want to watch it, they're going to stream it. So you need to call the ticket office, the Tulsa Ballet ticket office, and that number is 918-749-6006, and they'll tell you how to get tickets and how to get set up for it. Now, one more thing. I want to show you the cover of a magazine that I subscribe to and have for many years. Generally, I read the Smithsonian from cover to cover, as they say, and I can get a lot from it. And I'm a kind of a hoarder. I save older copies. It just so happened I came across this particular copy that you just saw the front of, and that's from September of 2020. In it, there's an Oklahoma angle, and I want to pass it on to you. This is about a guy named Fred Newton. This is a picture of Fred taken back in the day. Fred decided to swim the length of the Mississippi River, starting in Minneapolis, and swim all the way to New Orleans. Wanted to do it in 90 days. So he set out to do it, and you got to understand what he swam through. For example, there were times when his younger brother, who followed in a rowboat, said it was hard for him, and he was in a boat. Some of the things he included mats of manure and stinking animal parts that were dumped off at the stockyards just south of St. Paul. But he kept swimming. Well, he didn't make it in 90 days. As a matter of fact, he got in there 3 months behind schedule, but he did it. Now, his goal was, number one, to do it, to make the swim, and two, he thought, and this is going back a lot of years, that would be a key to fame and fortune. It was not. Fame he had briefly, but he ended up selling life insurance. But he still liked to watch people swim. I thought I'd tell you that because he hails from Clinton, Oklahoma. And you saw that on the map, or you can see it now perhaps, but Clinton, Oklahoma is over in the western part of the state, the other side of Oklahoma City. So we had a fella make his mark in the water many, many years ago from Clinton, Oklahoma. Now, I want to introduce to you a friend of ours, friend of mine, Dr. Ken Hicks. Dr. Hicks, it's good to have you with us again, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, not bad for a man my age. You're an instructor here on campus.
Yes, sir.
Tell the folks what you teach.
I teach political science courses. I'm also the department head of history and political science. I have a master's degree in international relations, and my PhD is in political theory, which makes me versatile, which is desirable for a small university like ours. Some of my favorite classes, I teach a course on media and politics. I teach a course called Introduction to Political Ideas, which is basically an analysis of different ideologies. I also teach American foreign policy. I teach a number of courses dealing with national security, including intelligence, American foreign policy, and terrorism. So I teach a broad array of courses.
Promise me you don't plan to leave anytime soon.
Not willingly.
All right. Well, let's jump into the fray here. Right off the top, did President Trump violate the law, when he asked the governor of Georgia to change the outcome of the election in his state?
I think it could be interpreted that way. I think it would be very difficult to prosecute that kind of case. Uh, right now, the current standing is under the Department of Justice that sitting presidents can't be prosecuted for felonies. It would be up to the incoming Attorney General to make a determination as to whether or not, you know, President Trump, in appealing to Michigan legislators, in appealing to the governor of Georgia, and trying to sign on to this recent lawsuit that Texas has filed, whether those actually constitute, efforts at election fraud. But, in my view, I would say that there is a case to be made.
You know, the Oklahoma Attorney General has signed on to that suit representing our state. So now we're involved.
Yes. Yes, I in fact went to the Oklahoma Bar Association site today to download a grievance form because I believe that Mike Hunter, in filing an amicus brief in that suit, has, again, in my view, committed malpractice. He is not just an elected official, he is also a lawyer. Lawyers have ethical, prohibitions on filing frivolous or fraudulent lawsuits. In supporting that lawsuit from Texas, which is specious on its face, Texas does not have standing to prevent the 4 states that they're suing from certifying their elections. Elections are held in the states. The elected officials and the designated election officials of that state are responsible for determining, the outcomes of elections. Many of these are Republicans. Certainly they are in both Arizona and in Georgia. And so, yeah, I think that Mike Hunter is doing something politically because he was being pressured to do so, but in so doing, he is furthering what amounts to an attempted coup.
It's intriguing because, oh my goodness, I don't know where to begin with our current governor, but to go back, if you will, to try to sue the Indian tribes, to try to take them to court to get more money out of them, when they had a sweet deal already, most folks were saying, you're going to lose that case. And I had to be honest with you. My head and my heart went to General George Armstrong Custer and his last effort. And I thought, golly, are we seeing 7th Cavalry all over again? I find the Oklahoma congressional delegation to be strangely quiet about the goings on with this election. Is that unusual to you?
Unfortunately, it's not. I think there are fewer than I believe 25 federal Republicans who have acknowledged that Donald Trump came up short and that Joe Biden is going to be sworn in as the next president on January 20th. I think the calculation among our delegation is that if they keep quiet, after this coming Monday, when the House of Representatives counts the votes and and Joe Biden is declared the president, that they'll be able to begin kind of acting like normal again. But in the meantime, the thing that I think most elected Republicans are terrified of is that they know that Donald Trump owns their constituency. That any perception that you are acting disloyally to Donald Trump could present them with a problem. That they would face a primary challenger from a Republican saying that they should be replaced because they were disloyal to Donald Trump.
Well, I saw an interview yesterday with the Attorney General in New York, who reminded me of my grandfather, who had a small grocery store many years ago, and he was a butcher in that grocery store. But I've seen him stand and sharpen knives, as though he was getting ready to break a side of beef, and I had the feeling that she's just frothing at the bit, if you will, for Donald Trump to leave office so she can get on with her work against him. Do you see that as the way she's approaching it?
Yes, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe that Donald Trump is going to spend the next several years looking at the inside of courtrooms. I think he has serious potential exposure, both for tax fraud, potentially for money laundering. He has enormous debts that are coming due in the next year or so. And I think he was counting on still being president to try and delay those. I think he potentially will be looked at by the next attorney general for actions that he has taken as president. And so I think part of the reason why he is fighting so hard is that he realizes that he faces real jeopardy, and his children do as well.
As you survey the landscape of Oklahoma, do you see any probability or possibility that the state might ultimately shift from Republican to Democrat?
Not in the near term. Let me say this. I think that most states tend towards a kind of mean, but that politics, that gerrymandering, and the fact that that Oklahoma is an oil state, and that basically the oil and gas and energy industry have basically put all their marbles into the Republican Party, have turned us into a one-party state. The sin of one-partyism tends to be hubris. It tends to, they tend to begin discounting their opponents. They're always more afraid of somebody within the party coming at them. And that opens up, factionalization within the political party that could potentially, break the party over time. That's usually the fate of one-party governance, that they succumb to corruption, and the other party is able to effectively steal some significant constituency. Governor Stitt's, fighting with the Native Americans, really is one of those issues. There is also, basically the oil and water issue. Eastern Oklahoma has water. Frackers and big ag in the West want that water. That kind of conflict, again, can cause a reshuffling of constituencies. In the long term, though, what has happened in most of the other states where you've seen a transition from Republican to Democrat, what has happened is that the larger urban areas have shifted decisively into the Democratic column. That has not happened here in Oklahoma. Both Tulsa and Oklahoma City and Cleveland counties all went Republican. They went more narrowly Republican than in the past. But in order for the state to shift from red to blue, you're going to have to see those three counties shift significantly into the Democratic column, where they're winning, 65 to 70% of the vote, where now they're frankly only getting about 45 to 48%.
Dr. Hicks, I got to take a short break, but before I do, let me just add one note here. Mr. Kaiser of the Kaiser Foundation offered up a solution to the governor of how to increase revenue, how to change the way we do business with the oil companies, and the governor ignored it. We'll be back with more right after this.